Hey, my name is Cami Pentecost, and I am so excited today because I have the unique privilege of interviewing a new but very dear friend of mine, Justin Ford, here today. And for those of you that don't know, I have become real estate certified
Yep.
and I've taken a deep dive into this world of real estate, and I could not be more excited. I've always been interested in real estate. And part of what we're doing here today is I want to pick your brain, Justin, because when I heard your story, and we'll get into your story, but when I heard the fact that you literally sold 100 homes in your first year as an agent, I know I was joking with you when we first got connected. I was like, listen, I get my license on Thursday. I'm listing my first house on Friday. Um, haven't made good on that yet, but I promise I'm coming for you. But this, you selling 100 homes in your first year, that is almost unheard of. And I want to talk about that today.
Yeah.
So, first, before we get to the why behind, we have to talk about why or
Yep.
what drives a person to do whatever it takes to sell 100 homes in your first year. Like, there has to be something there.
Right.
Oh,
Yep.
what on earth? Like, how on earth did you do that? And I don't mean the X's and O's. I mean, like, what was going on in your world that drove you to real estate and drove you to such a goal?
It's interesting. And for one, I appreciate you having me on here. I I first believed that it was possible, and when I set that goal, my first year, everybody thought I was crazy. That's not possible. You're just a, cocky guy who thinks he's gonna do this. And it was never to prove those people wrong, or it was never just because I wanted to, strut around thinking I was going to sell 100 homes. Like, we were broke, man. We were on like food stamps. We were barely making it. And, I had transitioned I started in the mortgage business and, experienced commission sales for the first time at a very young age. I was like 22, 23, made my first six figures, and I thought I'd arrived. Me and my wife were married. We had a young family. And then back in 2008, the market crashed. And when the market crashed, we didn't really prepare for, we were young, man. We were just spending money, right? We weren't saving money. We were spending money. And I had a mentor one time that I remember. He's like, Justin, I hope you're putting money away because things are about to get ugly. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about, man? I'm living the high life. This is good. And then bam, we went from six figures to no figures overnight. We lost our house to foreclosure, went through bankruptcy, lost both of our cars to repossession, had to get on food stamps, had to move in with my mom and live on our basement floor. And man, talk about eating humble pie. It was difficult. But God had given me a vision of what life was going to be like. I had a vision, I had a dream, I had this desire to create something for my family and live a certain type of life. And I had tasted a little bit of that. And when I was living in my mom's basement, I was doing whatever it took to be able to provide for my family. I transitioned into doing short sales and loan modifications when the market crashed to help people, during their foreclosure season. And then at night I was delivering pizzas to be able to bring money home, because my wife's like, listen, Christmas is around the corner. You're not making money off of your new business yet. You better do something. Well, I'm like, I'm not giving up my business, so I'll go deliver pizza. So I'd bring cash home at night, put it in her hand, and then wake up in the morning and build the business. And so turn things around and, help people through that foreclosure process. And then the market started to pick up. And so after being in that industry and tasting, commission, I'm like, I just need to get my real estate license, because I had already been referring a ton of business to real estate agents, and I saw the amount of money that they were making. And I'm like, okay, I need to put that money in my pocket. So back in 2013, I decided to get my real estate license, and I joined a team here locally called Jeff Glover and Associates, which was the number one real estate team here in Michigan. Jeff was on the billboards, he was on the radio and on the TV, and I knew they were doing something right. And so I went and interviewed with Jeff, and I said, hey man, I want to join your team. And to my surprise, I thought, watching HGTV and seeing all the things that you think about real estate, that I was just going to walk in there and I was just going to make a lot of money and sell a bunch of homes. And he's like, well, wait. We follow a system. And we're going to teach you the skills necessary to become a great salesperson, because I think sometimes, Cami, real estate agents don't realize that we are all salespeople. And I know that that word salesperson, salesman, saleswoman has gotten a bad rep, right? Just because we think of like that cheesy car salesman or the person that meets you at the door at the furniture store, and they're just like peeking around the corner, hounding you when you're trying to just look around. But the reality is, Jeff told me, he's like, we're in the sales industry. And if you want to become a real estate agent, you need to become a great salesperson. He said, so for 90 days, I'm going to take you through this program, and you're going to just pick up the phone and you're going to make calls to for sale by owners and expireds. And you're going to do that 8 to 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And you're going to do that for 90 days before you can take a listing, before you can work with the buyer, before you can go on an appointment and any of those things. I said, so what I hear you saying is you want me to be a telemarketer. And he said, well, no, not really, but that's basically what it was. And we had just had our 4th child. And at that time we were a family of 6, and we still are. And I said, well, how am I going to like feed my family for 90 days? He says, oh, we'll give you $1,000 a month draw. And when you close a deal, we'll give you 10%, but 5% of the 10% has to go back to paying the draw. And I'm just like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to take care of my family for 90 days. And so I left discouraged, went and talked to my mentor. He's like, how did it go? I said, it didn't. It was horrible. So this guy wants to pay me $1,000 a month to be a telemarketer. And he said, but do you believe that you could succeed there? And I said, yes. And he introduced me to a concept that I really never understood before that I still use to today. He said, but did you ask for what you want or what you need? And I said, no. He said, well, you need to go back to him and you need to ask him for what you need or what you want in order for this to work. So I went back to him and I said, Jeff, listen, it's not going to happen on $1,000 a month. I said, but if you can give me $2,000 a month, I think we can make that work. I look back now, Cami, I'm like, how in the heck did I take care of a family of 6 on $2,000 a month? And so he said yes. He brought me in. First day after going through the training for the first week, I'm sat down at a phone. I'm given a list of numbers and a phone. They're like, all right, start making calls. First several calls in, you suck, go to hell, stop calling, go get a real job. You're the scum of the earth, mother F for this. And I'm like, yeah, this is not for me. And so literally 45 minutes in, I was going to quit and walk out. And then as I'm sitting there, I said, okay, if I quit and I'm walking out, where am I going? And I had nothing. I had nowhere to go. And I had like a come into Jesus moment in that moment. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to do this thing. And not only am I going to do it, I'm going to be the best that there is in this office, and I'm going to crush this thing. And so for that 90 days, I just tore it up. I mean, I was the top inside sales associate, and I saw the commission checks these agents were cashing, and I'm like, oh man, I'm cashing these checks. And so the light bulb went on that I just needed to overcome my fear of rejection, and I had to learn how to get really good at the sales, and the rest was history. And so after 90 days, I became an outside sales agent. In my very first month, I took 30 listings. My second month, 33 listings. 6 months, 100 listings. And after my first 12 months in the business, after my first closing, I sold 100 homes. And like you said, it's pretty much unheard of, but I believed it was possible. I made 6 figures that year, and I've never looked back since, and it changed our life.
So I've written down 3 things since you have been talking, and y'all, for those of you listening to this, Justin, how long have we known each other? 2 months? 2.5
Maybe
months?
2. Yeah, probably 2 months. Yep.
2 months. Okay. So, and for those of you that are new to even listening to me, I've been in direct sales for just a little shy of 20 years. And there's 3 things I always say, and I have several lists of mantras. I call them my tools in the toolbox. Number 1, I believe when you get involved with this team, Justin said you need belief. He couldn't sell 100 homes without having the belief that it was possible. What I find in business, and especially in entrepreneurship, most people joining the business today do not have the belief necessary to have the success that they long to have. And so I want you to know, when you join this team, we're going to teach you how to have that kind of belief,
Yep.
but we're going to believe in you until
Yep.
you believe in yourself. We believe in
Absolutely.
transfer belief. It is contagious. We have it. We've seen it. We've done it more than once. It's not because we wish for it, we meditate on it, we pray for it, and just hope it comes to us. No, we're going to teach you how to work for it, and it is going to be uncomfortable. And that's the second thing I want you to know.
Yep.
You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in
Right.
order to reach your dreams. When he talked about being able to take rejection and realize it's not personal, it's about that person more than it is about what he's offering. And it's not about the ones who don't want it, my friends. You're looking for the ones that do. And it doesn't take many that do that
Yep.
will absolutely change your life. And the third and final thing I want to mention, and Justin, you teed all this up. And again, we did not practice this.
Nope.
I tell my kids all the time, and now they're old enough, they use it on me regularly. If you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Hmm.
The answer is always no. And so you got to go out and make an ask out of yourself, you guys. Like, you literally need to make so many calls, so knock on so many doors. You need to like reach out and give someone a handshake. I just started playing pickleball, Justin, and I've got this whole new group of people that I'm making friends with. And I literally took a stack of business cards there the other day, and I was like, I don't know many of these. I was like, y'all can't leave without 3 of these, and you need to give them back before we play pickleball again. Listen, they owe me nothing. There's no reason that they would hand out my cards, but we just had a fun exchange, and they took them. They took them, and they were like, all right, yes, I will hand out your card. And I thought to myself, it's been a minute since I've had to use my own mantra on myself. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. And so they're going to say yes to somebody. They're going to list their house with somebody. They're going to buy through somebody. So why not let it be through you, right?
I say they're going to list with somebody. It might as well be me.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
right. Absolutely. Okay, so today, y'all, we've only known each other for a very short time. And one of the reasons my heart is so connected with this team that I've partnered with is because their love for the Lord is strong. And Justin, I'm putting you on a spot a little bit here, and we didn't rehearse any of this, but you put something out on social media that I never knew about you. And yesterday you were shouting out from the rooftop this amazing group of kids that you had an opportunity to invest in, and just watching the life change happening. And then today you shared kind of your second chance story. Not everybody gets a chance for a second chance. And I never would have known that about you, Justin. I I grew up with Eminem, and I thought when I saw your picture, I was like, is that Eminem right there? But do you mind sharing for a minute just where God has brought you from?
Absolutely. Yeah, no. And I appreciate that. And so, you know, I feel like, you know, I was the underdog, you know, when my life began to change, because, you know, things didn't start off, you know, successful for me. I didn't come from a successful home. I came from a broken home. You know, my parents divorced when I was 2, and they did the best that they could, but unfortunately, you know, things didn't work out. And so, you know, very early on experienced brokenness and, you know, just trauma and tragedy as a young child. And, you know, I lived with my mom until I was 12, and then she got a divorce again with my stepdad. And then I moved with my biological dad because I always wanted to live with him. And my dad was an alcoholic and struggled on and off with alcohol. And, you know, after moving in with him, you know, I was just hitting those teenage years. And so I moved to a new area, wanted to be cool and liked and accepted. And so began to hang out with a certain crowd, and I was always smart in school. I didn't have to study. I was the kid that didn't have to do homework. I tried to get my assignment done in class so I could hang out after school. And then I didn't have to study for the test. So I had, you know, I was a 3.0 grade point average, you know, without trying. And when I got into high school, you know, the peer pressure really started to take itself on, and, you know, I'm in Metro Detroit, right outside of Detroit. And it was a suburb of Detroit that, you know, I would say it was a little rough around the edges. And so the group of kids that I was hanging out with, you know, had a lot of trauma. A lot of them came from broken homes. And so, you know, we were running around and, you know, smoking cigarettes and, you know, smoking weed at a very young age. I lost my virginity when I was 14, you know, didn't really have a lot of direction or, you know, a lot of positivity in front of me. So I just went out and did what everybody else was doing. And, you know, by the time I was 16, I started dating a girl and just kind of fell what I thought was in love. She was 19, but it really was an abusive relationship, both physically and mentally. And I just, you know, I just started going into drugs and alcohol more heavily. I was using ecstasy and cocaine and all sorts of different drugs. And between the ages of 17 and 19, I acquired 8 misdemeanors and a felony, sold drugs to an undercover cop, overdosed, almost died, got beat up by the police, lost my driver's license for 10 years. And my life had gotten so low, through this addiction. I remember getting arrested after being up 24 hours on a drug binge, and they took me to jail for public intoxication. And I went into the jail. I thought I was going to die because I was so high and so dehydrated. They wouldn't give me any water to drink. And so I actually drank water out of the toilet in the jail, just to stay alive, because I was so I thought I was going to die. And that's how low my life had gotten. And, I remember after my drunk driving accident that I had gotten, I crashed my mom's car into the wall. I blew a .21, which was 3 times the legal limit. And praise God, I was able to walk away from that. I had violated probation. I had already been on another drunk driving, which actually happened in Grand Rapids. And I'm only 19 years old at this time, and I went into jail in downtown Detroit. And I just prayed and I said, God, if you'll give me a second chance, I'll give you my life. And the judge let me out. I didn't have to pay a bond or a bail, let me out. And at 19, I checked myself into a faith-based treatment center called Grace Centers of Hope in Pontiac, Michigan. And it was in that treatment center that I found Jesus 21 years ago, and it completely transformed my life.
You might have to talk after that. That's the first time I've heard that story.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the people right now that feel broken. They've been through trauma and tragedy. I think about the people that don't have the degree, right? Maybe they've had a rough start. Maybe they came from a rough start. Maybe they've just made decisions they shouldn't have had a rough start. What I've always loved about being an entrepreneur is it doesn't matter where you come from. It's a level playing field. And when I hear about you selling 100 homes in your first year, I think about a man who was hungry, was willing to do whatever it took to provide for his family. I think about somebody that was open to learning and understanding, or learning and having people that are where they want to be, teach them all the things they need to know. Can you, like, knowing where you come from and where you are now, I mean, Justin, you are so wildly successful. That is not the Justin I know. You are the Justin I know. You are the man that when I call, you say, have you prayed about it? And I go, good point. I need to go back and do that. You're the man that's investing in families and marriages through a prayer call in the morning. And so talk to the person who doesn't have the degree, doesn't have the income in the bank, feels like, this is for other people, not them.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a saying, because I just recently wrote a book, and, the book it details my story and 7 key principles to breaking free and breaking through. And one of those things that I talk about in that book is it's not how you start. What matters is how you finish. That you can't determine the family that you're born in. You can't determine the area that you're born in. You can't determine a lot of the circumstances that you have as a child, but you can determine what your future is. And for the person that is like, and this is what I put on my post today, it's like, if you're in a place of brokenness, you have no hope, you're discouraged, you're addicted, and you don't see a way out or think there's a way out, just know that there is. And with God, all things are possible. God came to my rescue when I was probably on death's door multiple times. And because I was open, to allow him in, he gave me a second chance. And because he gave me a second chance, I realize that life is so valuable, and I understand the pain and the circumstances and everything that I went through. And it can't get any worse than that. And so therefore, when I hit rock bottom, I knew that the only way was up, and I was going to commit my life to being the best that I could be, so that I could help as many people along the way realize the potential that they have as well, regardless of what they've been through, regardless of their circumstances, regardless of how hard life has been. I want them to look at my life and see what is possible.
Well, that I've adopted too, right?
Yep.
So my son came home last night. It was this, this is total sidetrack, y'all. This is not part of the script, but clearly it is part of the script. So he's going to be 18 in October. He's been with me since he was 15. And the last couple days he's been feeling far from the Lord. And I told him that's just a tactic of the enemy, but long story short, he came home last night and there was a new guy at their youth group and he prayed the prayer with him. He led him to Christ. He was able to just share some of his brokenness and some of the path that he's walked down with a kid who's walking down some very similar paths right now.
Wow.
And Justin, when I say God is working through the trauma in this kid's life, and yet he won't do it any of the traditional ways that a lot of us would work through those things, God's doing it his way. And
Yeah.
he wept with me last night, and I, for the first time ever, saw God get a hold of him in a new way. And he just couldn't believe God would choose him. And so
Wow.
as I hear you tell your story, I see God using a man that came from a lot of brokenness to just an incredible space of, you turned your mess into a message, and I'm going to buy that book. I've got a handful of people I'm going to send that to for sure. So I want to wrap this up because we want to keep this short and sweet. And I want to speak to this real estate world out there.
Yep.
What is one message you want to leave to the person that's listening right now? And I don't know why they stumbled upon this, other than I'm sure they want to know how the heck you sold 100 homes in less than a year.
Yeah. Real estate is a vehicle. It really is. And when I was introduced to this vehicle, I realized what was possible by hopping into this vehicle. Being a high school dropout, not going to college, felon, all the stuff that I just shared with you. Like, most people would look at my record and never hire me into a job. Although I was never a good employee, I was fired from every single job I ever worked. And I realized very early on, because I've been self-employed now since I was 22. So for 21 years, I've been self-employed. And I realized being an employee was never what I wanted. But real estate, and I was just sharing this with one of the young guys on my team today. And I said, real estate will open up every door that you want opened in your life at some point. Because my mentor, Jeff Glover, told me that, because I was always looking, I was the shiny object guy. I was looking at all these other things, like, I want this, I want this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And he said, listen, Justin, if you'll just be patient and trust the process and become great in this, it will introduce you to all the people you need to be introduced to. It'll connect you with all the opportunities that you need to be connected with. And it will give you the platform that you ultimately want to have to make the impact that you want to make. And so if you're watching this right now and you're either thinking about getting into real estate or you're currently in real estate, this is the industry that can give you everything that you need if you're willing to do whatever it takes to get out there and win. Is it easy? No, it's hard, but life is hard. And I always say it's going to be hard to accomplish your goals, and it's going to be hard to stay where you are. It's going to be hard to never live up to your potential. It's going to be hard to struggle every day. You just have to choose your hard. And one hard leads to the reward, and one hard leads to regret. You just have to choose what hard that you want to invest yourself into.
I was literally writing down the next mantra that you already brought up. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yep.
I mean, y'all, listen, if you want something different, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and you've got to be willing to work for it. But that comes down to picking your heart.
Yep.
And I posted on my social media yesterday, that very thing that you're not wanting to do is the very thing that will probably propel you into what you're wanting, into what you wish was happening. And I think Justin is a testimony to that right now. Justin, I didn't know you had a book, and I would like to have your book. So if you can make sure you send me a link about that, I want to put that out there today, because I think that's really powerful. And I'm just going to say it for those of you that are watching this.
Yep.
You may or may not be in real estate. You may or may not be a part of the team that we're on, but I want you to know that people hire Justin for several thousands of dollars to get his training and his experience and how he's been able to accomplish what he's accomplished. And if you want that training for no cost, joining our team absolutely gets you that access. And so the minute anybody's joined real estate with me, I've been like, Justin, how do I get them on your training? Like, I just want to open that door for them, but be careful because we're all going to be emailing you, Justin, because
Yep.
you say, email me what your goal is. Email
Yep.
me what you'll do if you don't tackle your goal. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh, watch your inbox because we're about
Yep.
to be blowing you up.
Yep.
But no, I just want to put that out there because that's a wealth of knowledge that you're offering there, Justin. And by being a part of this organization, we get to take advantage of that.
Yep. Absolutely. And it's what I love about being here at EXP and having the team that we have is it's a pay it forward model. You know, we want to see you win, and by helping you win, we all win. And that's the beautiful thing about this model. And it's not only do you get Cami, not only do you get Ryan who brought Cami in, you get me and everybody that brought me in. It's literally, like Cami said, one big family.
I love it. Well, thank you for your time, Justin. I know you've got a crazy schedule, but we just appreciate it and thankful to learn from you.
Appreciate you, Cami.